Georgia Republicans just got dealt a massive blow in the 2026 Senate election. Brian Kemp has announced that he will not be running for Senate in Georgia. Now, Brian Kemp was seen as the most formidable candidate to defeat Jon Ossoff. He was the only candidate who was polling higher than Jon Ossoff, the only candidate who has beaten Jon Ossoff in the head-to-head matchup in most polling over the last 6 months. The 2026 Senate election was a golden opportunity for the GOP to flip a seat that has been held by a Democrat for the last 5 years to the GOP column when it should be. Because remember, this is a state that voted for Donald Trump in 2024 and 2016. It narrowly voted for Biden in 2020. But ultimately, this is a seat that could be held by a Republican, especially a popular Republican like Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp was a dream candidate for the GOP. And basically, he just sidestepped it and said, no thanks. No thanks. He didn't want to run against Ossoff, even though the race was seen as a layup for him. You had people like Majority Leader John Thune going out of his way to try and court Brian Kemp. People like Tim Scott, the chair of the National Senatorial Republican Committee, going out of their way to court Brian Kemp. And it hurts. Kemp was the heavy hitter in this race. He's a very popular governor who pulled 3 points ahead of Jon Ossoff in the most recent poll that was conducted. Kemp was leading Ossoff in a head-to-head matchup by 3 points. Ossoff beats Raffensperger by 9. Ossoff beats John King by 13, and he beats Marjorie Taylor Greene by 17 points. Really, truly some pretty terrible numbers here, considering the fact that Brian Kemp will not be in this race in 2026. And without Brian Kemp in this race here, the GOP is left scrambling. What are they going to do? Who is going to unite the party? Who's going to unite the party and beat Jon Ossoff? That is the big question. Who's going to bring together the Trump loyalists, but also bring in the moderates, independents? Something that really no one else has been able to do at this point. But now the GOP is really left with a pretty messy lineup. They are left with a pretty messy lineup here. Buddy Carter, Mike Collins, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tyler Harper, John King, Rich McCormick, Brad Raffensperger, and Donald Trump. Reportedly, there have been a couple reports that says that he wants freshman Congressman Brian Jack from Georgia's 3rd Congressional District to run in the Senate. Now, Brian Jack replaced a retiring Republican representative who represents a pretty solid Republican seat. Brian Jack was a senior advisor to Donald Trump in his 2024 presidential campaign and was a former White House political director in the last 2 years of the Trump administration. Now, he replaced Drew Ferguson, who decided not to run for re-election in 2024 in the state of Georgia. But really, the nightmare scenario is if you have Marjorie Taylor Greene leading the ticket. There was a poll that came out, and we're going to find it here real quick. I believe it was this poll right here that came out that showed Marjorie Taylor Greene, if the Republican primary for U.S. Senate were held today and Brian Kemp was not running, for whom would you vote for? 42% say Marjorie Taylor Greene. We know she knows how to fundraise. She has a lot of appeal within inside of the Republican base, but it is a completely different story when you get to a general election. Totally a completely different story. And if these candidates were the choice in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate, whom would you vote for here? Very interesting. Very interesting. But you can see here, head-to-head, Jon Ossoff beating Mike Collins by 5 points. He beats Marjorie Taylor Greene in not head-to-head, in a really a 4-way matchup where you have other candidates, you have people who are undecided. He's leading by 12 points. Head-to-head, just the two head-to-head, Ossoff is winning by 17 points. 17 points. That means out of this number here, only about 0.5% are breaking for Marjorie Taylor Greene of the undecided. The rest are going to Jon Ossoff. He beats Brad Raffensperger by 9 points. But here's the thing. The party participation was at 38% Republican. So you are having Republicans who are going to vote for a Democrat. That is how bad this situation could be. Yet granted, do we have more females in this poll than you have Republicans? Males? Absolutely you do. No doubt about it. But this could be a disaster for the Republican Party. A complete disaster. Like we said, Brad Raffensperger down 9 points. John King down 13. Marjorie Taylor Greene 17 points. And if the Republicans decide that they want to nominate Marjorie Taylor Greene, you might as well, it's like, I'm not going to say that this race is over. I'm not going to jump there yet. I'm really not going to jump to that conclusion yet. But to be honest with you, here's the good thing about this whole race. Overall, the Democrats, at the end of the day, this is their ceiling. Their ceiling is 49 seats. They're going to win, if they win Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Maine, and Minnesota. Their ceiling's about 49 seats. I think the Republicans will hold on in Maine. I'm weary on North Carolina right now. Right now, this is how I would classify the race as of right now. Ultimately, that's where I have it. And Georgia does not need to be a toss-up race. It does not need to be. A Republican should be able to win in this state. They should be. That is the reality of the situation here. A Republican should be able to win. But for Jon Ossoff right now, he's sitting in a pretty tight place. As of right now, he's got $11 million cash on hand as of quarter 1, 2025. And Jon Ossoff has a lot of support from suburban voters, which you can clearly see. That is where the state is moving. The state is becoming a lot more liberal than it used to be. Remember, this is a state that voted for George Bush back in 2004 by 16 points. Now it voted for Trump by 2 points. Look at this. Previously, go back to 2000. Democrats are winning Fulton County, Clayton County, DeKalb County. Republicans are winning Glenwood, Forsyth, Cherokee, Cobb, Douglas, all of these, Fayette, Henry, Rockdale. Republicans are winning these by like 20, 30, 40 points here. Fast forward to 2024, look at this. Democrats have expanded this threshold here. They've totally expanded their votes that they're getting here in this suburban area around Atlanta. This is where they drive the vote up. Just like in every state, there is a big urban center suburban center where they drive the votes up. That they drive their margin up right here, and they hope that they can outweigh the rest of the state. That's just simply what they do. And remember, bad candidate quality. If anyone needs a reminder of why it is a horrible idea to nominate a bad candidate, just go back to 2022, a year that was supposed to be good for Republicans. Remember, Warnock won this election by 3 percentage points. 3 percentage points he won by. Warnock. Herschel Walker lost this race. And remember, this was on the same ballot, literally the same ballot here. You saw Brian Kemp win re-election by 7.5 points. You can clearly see that bad candidate quality leads to bad results for the Republican Party. And this was a year that was supposed to be good for the Republicans. 2026, historically, will not be a good year for Republicans. And Georgia was not the only place that this happened. Look, in Pennsylvania, we nominated Dr. Oz, and he got smoked there by someone who is half brain dead. You look in Arizona, where you had Blake Masters go up against Mark Kelly. This should have been a Republican seat. I don't think as much in Nevada with Adam Laxalt. I think Catherine Cortez Masto, I'm not a big fan of her, but also I don't think Laxalt is this fringe candidate as much as someone like Blake Masters or Herschel Walker or someone like Mehmet Oz was. It doesn't mean that I don't agree with policy positions that they're putting out there. I didn't feel like they were the best candidate to win this election. You may agree with them on policy 100%, but if they can't win an election, you're sitting at home twiddling with your thumbs on the couch. Like that's what you're doing. And a far MAGA right candidate like Marjorie Taylor Greene could win a primary. She won 100%, and she probably is favored to win a primary as of right now, but would alienate moderate voters, handing Ossoff a win. In this most recent poll, the same poll that they took right here, they found that 10% of Trump supporters or voters would vote for Jon Ossoff. They found that Marjorie Taylor Greene was winning a fourth of independents, while Jon Ossoff was winning over 60% of independents. That's just totally unacceptable in a state that should be a Republican tilt Republican seat. It really should be. But we know Georgia is not the Republican stronghold it used to be. Trump barely won the state by 2.5 points in the 2024 presidential election. It's not the Georgia that we saw 2 decades ago. It's just not. And the GOP needs a candidate who can win over independents, suburban voters, not just the base. The base is not going to cut it in Georgia. And if they pick a dud, Democrats will hold the seat and inch closer to retaking the Senate. I don't think they're going to retake the Senate in 2026. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they will. But they're going to inch closer and closer and closer. And if there are Republicans who defect, oh my goodness, then all of a sudden they have a majority. If you have Republicans who defect from the Republican Party, it's just not going to be good. It is not going to be good at all. But with no Kemp in this race, a weak batch of candidates as of right now, which could turn out to be a chaotic primary, Georgia's GOP could be in deep SHIT for 2026. Do you think they're going to pull it together? Or do you think Ossoff is going to cruise to victory in this election? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future. And folks, we will catch you next time.